to start things off, what was kind of your first reaction when you heard about the Southland canceling?
Just a mixed reaction. I think the thing that I thought of first, our coaching staff, we were very disappointed for the players. At all the institutions and all the student athletes. They work so hard to get themselves in a position to be ready to play a football season. So that was it for me. It was just disappointment for our student athletes.
What kind of compelled you to put out a statement after the fact?
I was just on my heart. I usually don't do stuff like that. As if you follow me on social media, I'm not somebody who puts a lot of stuff out like that. It's just something I'd been thinking about, weighing on. And for me, I've been in college athletics 20 years, and we've all had different experiences. And, I just say I think you're a sum of your experiences. And I've been very fortunate to be around good leaders in my life. Coach Mel Church, my guy I played for, is in the College Hall of Fame. But what Dr. Schubert has done here, not just this, just in what I've learned from him in 4 years on how he handles things, and Alan Ward, our AD, are things that are priceless to me, and they're things that I'm taking with me the rest of my life. The other thing is, I don't think, and this is my opinion. This is not the view of ACU. This is my opinion, Adam Dorrel. I think there's a lot of people out there right now that aren't looking big picture, and everybody wants to talk about the Power Five and those kids and what they're doing. This impacts our kids. If kids can't do things, not just football student athletes, any student athletes, there's financial ramifications that come to all institutions across the United States. And I don't think people understand that kids know they need to be able to go to school with a scholarship to get their degree. And a lot of our kids would not have an opportunity to get a college education without a sport. And so that was it for me. I want people to hear what our team's about. I think our guys do a really good job. I think we have smart guys that are highly educated, and they weigh the facts, and that's what we've just talked about on a consistent basis.
For you guys, what is sort of the next step now? I mean, how many games do you want to try and schedule? How are you guys kind of going about doing that? How are you trying to handle the fall?
Yeah, so I guess two ways to answer that. Alan's handling all the scheduling. Him and Drew Long are working tirelessly right now to try to find football games. As you know, it's difficult because there's so much uncertainty with the NCAA and other conferences. And so our hope is once other conferences, whether it's FCS or FBS, start getting their ducks in a row, it's really going to help us scheduling football games. I don't have anything to base this on other than I hope this week to be able to circulate news, Alan and our people from the media on our initial schedule. But that's really it right now. There's so many unknowns.
When you guys, have a game like against a Power 5 team or an FBS team, I mean, how much does that, guys, help you both financially and just in terms of recruiting and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, it really depends on the year. My understanding right now, the guaranteed games, they're just not very lucrative as they usually are. For example, I don't know if anybody's paying $500,000 or $600,000 for a game right now. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I'm hearing. So financially, it's not a great deal or as good as it has been. Our guys just want to compete, and they really do. Some things that would be cool is when the TV starts putting out their schedules, if there's some way to get on national television for a game, something like that. That exposure for our whole university is priceless. And then, for our guys to be able to play against the top competitor, especially in the state we're in now, they're just very grateful to play. And to be really honest, they don't care who it is. They just want to play.
With the Big Ten and Pac-12 canceling, two of the richer conferences in college football, they kind of are saying they don't know whether they can keep their kids safe. How confident do you feel that you guys kind of have the right protocols in place to keep your kids safe?
Yeah, I'm very confident in that. I think our medical people, I've been saying this for the last 4 months, not just right now. I feel like ACU, Dr. Schubert, our leadership council, I think they've been way out ahead of a lot of other universities our size. But as we all know, I think we're all a little anxious right now with all students returning to campus, and that's across the country. I mean, I think you'd be a fool not to be a little anxious about that. But yeah, we're very confident. We talk to our guys a lot about the things that they can do. At the end of the day, the student athletes, they have to make really good decisions. And so we talk a lot about, hey, educating the people that you're with. If it's a girlfriend, if it's a friend that you live with that's not a football player, what they can and can't do, when you're around. And then just educating them the best of our ability. And then more importantly, just really a lot of times throughout the year, if kids aren't feeling good, you love it when they try to battle through stuff. That's not what we want right now. And we've made that very clear to our guys. Hey, if anything doesn't feel right, we have a medical check-in in the morning on their app. They just hit something and it immediately our people call them and tell them not to come to campus, and then we go from there.
I know that in the aftermath of the Southland decision, more than one coach and athletic department kind of put out statements about not being super happy about the decision. Talking to other coaches in the conference, do you feel like a lot of them kind of share your thought that, that this might have been worth trying to play?
Yeah, I do. I'm not going to name names, but yeah, I've talked to a lot of those folks, and they feel like that. I think, again, the overall theme is that people are just super disappointed that their student athletes aren't getting a chance to do something when maybe other student athletes across the country are. And when somebody's mandating you to do something and you can't financially afford to do it, I think that's the real level of frustration, not just with my Southland colleagues, but other coaches across the country.
Awesome. I think I should do it, Coach. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Owen. Coach, really just focusing on, going ahead as the season as scheduled, assuming that we're going to have an independent fall schedule. You mentioned on Media Day you've had some great talent at quarterback. Since then, have you been able to really have a clearer picture of who's going to be at that position?
No idea, because we've only been in pads 2 days. I like all their energy. I like what they're doing. Samaje obviously is battle tested. He's done a lot of good things. Seen from him throughout the summer, 2 things that really stand out to me. His vocal leadership has improved tremendously, and I just feel at that position you have to have that. He's always had everything else, but that's a big plus. He's worked really hard on his passing mechanics and his passing game, but as of now, no. Our plan is to go through the week, checking the weather, checking everything else, hopefully trying to scrimmage towards the end of the week. And at that first scrimmage, all those guys will get the same amount of reps. There's 4 of them right now. And then as we move through and we know our schedule, then we'll set more consistent parameters on, like, hey, this guy's getting this many reps, and start cutting it back, and probably 10 days before our first game, probably name a starter.
Walk us through the complexity of possibly playing, 3 to 4 fall independent games and then also going to play conference schedule in the spring. What exactly can you imagine that being like?
Yeah, it's hard to imagine, because I have yet to find anybody that's given me a good example on what the spring looks like. Some interesting things. I don't know if you all have thought about it, because we are just some colleagues at other schools, whether it's Division II, Division III, talking about their average temperature in the month of January and February. I mean, those people, they can't be outside in that. And those smaller schools, most of them don't have indoor facilities. So it's just very interesting. I think when you look at that spring, I don't think it's right or wrong, because to me, the big boys will dictate it, and they all have indoor facilities. But it's going to be hard if you try to start football in January for a lot of the upper to Midwest, the Northeast. It's cold. So I don't know what it looks like. It's strange. We all wish that they would make some decisions, and then it would allow everybody to start formulating a plan. But as you know, it's so difficult right now.
And walk us through, really, you mentioned vocal leadership, Samaje really bringing that into picture. What exactly does it look like on defense as far as vocal leadership goes?
Yeah, it's been great. I've been really impressed with Jack Gibbon, Byron Robinson. He's really come into his own. Very proud of him. Those two right now are really driving that bus. And the communication right now with our defense is tremendously better than it was last year. Feel like we have more depth from the little I've seen through player development and recruiting. And, now you hope to see that come to fruition. I do feel like we have a chance to be good on the D-line. And secondary-wise, I just feel like we're much improved. The good thing is statistically, and I'm not taking a knock at our guys, statistically there's really nowhere to go but up from there. I should say down from there, yards given up. But I know those guys have taken that as a challenge, and it really starts with Byron back there.
Coach, obviously this whole year full of uncertainty. Now not even knowing if you're going to be playing games, what's your mentality like right now? How difficult as a head coach is it just to, go one day at a time and really not know what to expect at all for what's happening tomorrow?
It's not difficult right now because we have hope, because our leadership has given us hope. And I think a lot in life, as we know, if you just have hope, man, doesn't matter what you're doing, you just need a little hope. And so our guys are very energetic. They're very excited. They have a chance to play football. They don't care right now who's it against and how many games it is. And, we all have so many colleagues at other schools, whether it's players, former players, or with players, or me with coaches that are just, they're distraught right now. They're sitting at home and they don't know what to do. And, a lot of these guys have been doing this for a long time. So, no, actually, I feel very blessed to be in the situation that I'm at because we have hope.
To know that, you and the school kind of see eye to eye in terms of kind of where things have gone this last week, I guess how comforting is it to know that, they're trying to push to have this season instead of, have all of you guys sitting down and waiting for, as you kind of mentioned, an uncertain spring?
Yeah, it feels great. It feels really good because obviously they've done a great job of communicating. And I know they don't have to do that. And they've been really good with all of us, our coaches, our players, giving us the information when it comes. It just feels good to be at a place where you feel like you're valued and people understand the significance of college athletics. It's not, like I said in my statement, it's not just a game, in my opinion.
Every day, your team goes out to practice. What are you telling them in terms of, how to kind of stay mentally focused and prepared for the season? Are you telling them expect that there will be games? What are you kind of saying day in, day out?
Yeah, absolutely, because that's what we're expecting is to play games. We've really tried to focus on, hey, let's not go too fast too early because we don't know when we're going to play. And so we're going to have plenty of time to ramp it up when we go. So I think the big thing we've really talked about is, hey, let's treat this season like it's a marathon, not a sprint, and try to be really smart with the number of periods we're doing each day, the number of contact we're doing. And then once we get that schedule set, we feel very good as coaches to be able to say, okay, 10 days out, 14 days out, this is what we need to be doing to get ready to play this game.
You mentioned that there hasn't really been anything broken down to you in terms of how the spring might look like if you guys do play football. What have you heard in general about that? What conversations have gone on with you regarding how the spring could look if y'all did play? Yeah,
when you say conversations, you mean from like the AD or just colleagues?
Colleagues,
yeah.
And anybody that is involved within the conference, I would say more so.
Yeah, so nothing concrete. Alan has given me a little bit of insight on some stuff that's been pitched around, but it's very vague as far as start time, number of games you're going to play, and not taking a shot at the Southland. The Southland can't do anything until the NCAA makes a decision if they're playing a championship or not. And so, I just feel really bad for those people because they can't give us any type of idea. I've heard anything from now going to the colleagues aspect. There's a lot of people in my position that don't think playing spring football is going to happen. And they feel like it's a way for people to kick the can down the road and just try to ease people down slowly. It seems very challenging to play football in the spring. It'd be very difficult for our institution because you're going to cross over potentially with basketball. baseball starting, softball, track and field. It would stress our medical staff, our strength staff, our administrative staff to the brink. And so it's going to be challenging.
Why was it so important to get some games in this fall as opposed to just waiting until the spring?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. Why it is to me is because there's nothing set in stone that the NCAA might not come out here in a month and say, we're not playing football in the spring. I mean, I think that's potentially a possibility. And so for us, we're going to act on the information that we have, which is awesome. We know nothing about kids' eligibility status, as you all know. I know you talked with Alan about that. And so it's like, hey, let's go and let's be very open-minded to what a schedule looks like. Let's be ready to improvise, adapt, overcome when we actually get concrete information. You know, if somebody says, hey, we're not playing in the spring, well, then we can pick up more games. If somebody says, okay, you're playing in the spring, here's how many games you're playing, then that's going to tell us how many we can play in the fall. Eligibility comes into play on that. You know, once we know what a kid's eligibility status is, you know, are they going to give them another year? You know, nobody knows that for sure. So I like how we're doing it, Joe. I think we're being very patient but prudent on how we're doing it. I think we're being smart. Dr. Schubert and Alan are, and they just keep moving us forward. And love where our kids are at because they get it. They don't know, so they're not worrying about things they can't control.
So what about for you? I mean, you know, you guys are coaching staff. You're used to a routine during the spring, and now you're going to try to juggle playing football maybe,
yeah,
and recruiting.
Yeah, it's like I said. I was just saying, as you guys probably know better than I do, there's just so many things that don't look right for the spring. Next year goes into, I think, a 12-game schedule. So how are you potentially going to play 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, if you have a championship event, 13 games in the spring, and then turn around and try to play another 12 games in that short amount of time? And I think that's where you're really going to start seeing problems. This is just my opinion. I don't have anything to base this on. I think you're going to start seeing potentially a lot of pushback by student athletes like, hey, you really want me to go play 12 games in the spring and turn around and play 13 in the fall? It seems like that'd be very hard to do.
Obviously, as a coach right now, you're focused on getting the players to play in the fall and then hopefully this spring, but has the kind of long-term effects entered your mind at all about how this can affect you guys down the road?
Yeah, it has. It really has. I've talked a lot to colleagues and friends, and it's just this is a great profession right now. It's super lucrative, especially the higher you go, and I think it's weighing on people's mind potentially what could happen down the road for college athletics. Maybe not the big boys, but everybody else. You know, there's just a lot that could come into play there.
And then you mentioned the disappointment from not only people here, but kind of around the Southland and really around the country, Big Ten and Pac-12 as well. What did you kind of hope that they were going to decide, the Southland? Would just keep the whole conference late, or what was your realistic hope for them to decide that was not this decision? Yeah,
I guess I always think big, so I was just hoping that we could stay together as a conference and everybody could meet the testing requirements and play a conference schedule, because I think there was going to be a lot of good football teams in the Southland this year. After that, then it drops to, okay, well, can we figure out how to play some games in the fall and maybe do some crossover against other opponents in the Southland and grab some non-con games, which I think, to my understanding, I don't think that's totally been decided on yet. I think that's coming down the slate here pretty quick. And then when it starts to look like that might not happen, it's just to find a way to hang on, to get games, to be with your team, to let your guys have something productive to do in the fall, and just to get better as a program.
Is there any worries about just overall financially how this may all of that affect, not just football, but all the other, sports? Yeah,
I can't speak for that here at ACU, but yeah, I think overall you got to look at things. There's a chance for, because I've been at the NAI, I've been at Division II football. The lower you go, the harder it is financially for those folks. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potential ramifications with people like that down the road. Joe, you're not going to comment on my mask? It's the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl. You guys are coming to town week 1. Did you know that? Houston is?
I hadn't thought about it.
I have. Anybody else?
Anything else?